What's up, everybody? It's Jeremy here from Oceanbound, and I have an announcement. I have a new sinker board. Couldn't be more stoked. I've had a session or two on it. I just figure I'd kind of give you guys a little bit of a story about the first day that I rode that new sinker. So if you've watched my videos for a while, you may know that I previously was on a 40.6 liter 4'10" Cabrina autopilot, and I was totally happy with it. My local wing buds and I are relatively new to the whole sinker thing in the past year, and I've tried I think like 6 different sinkers at this point, and I've just always preferred that autopilot out of all of them. I got the sinker for a few reasons. One of them was, to have something that was more nimble and close to my kiteboard. And, another was out of curiosity. Another was just for a challenge. And another was, because I wanted something lighter and, better suited for jumping, because I wanted to get more into like the jumping thing. And so I feel like I really lucked out with the autopilot, but unfortunately it started forming like a buckle in front of the mast track. And so I'm waiting for Cabrina to get back to me about the warranty, but whether they warranty or not, I needed a new sinker, and I know how long like a warranty process can take. So I called my wing dealer, Phil, from kitesite.net. I wanted to see if he had any like recommendations. And the one thing too, recently I just rode my friend Paul's 50 liter sinker, and I just kind of knew after riding that was the next size I wanted to get. So just total kismet that, when I called Phil, he was like, I have 2 48 liter 4'10" FOne Rocket S boards that are coming in. And I was like, sold, I'll take one. I really want to jump, and I just have a feeling these rockets are gonna help hold up, because you see Tituan and the whole F1 team going so big on them and doing everything with them. So I had a good feeling about them. Alright, so here we are, heading into Phil's shop, kitesite.net, or Inland Sea if you're into windsurfing. He's located on Cape Cod near West Venice Beach, and he has a lot of wing stuff in stock. Check out all these boards. You can follow the link in the description to his online site, and Phil can help you get your wing fix, and he can be your wing dealer. So definitely reach out to him. Highly recommended. So look at this thing. First off, the color is unreal. It's the coolest, boldest red I've ever seen. The black just like pops on it. I put NSI V front straps on it, and I had a single NSI strap in the back. The shape is sweet. It's got double concave. The deck has a pretty good concave on it, and it's got this really sweet corduroy pattern on the deck pad. It really does feel awesome. I grabbed a new leash for it, and I put a GoPro mount on it, and I was ready. So I headed off to test it on the Cape. So now it's time to talk about the conditions, right? It was the first day of like a 4 or 5 sustained northeast wind coming in. The wind started early. They've been blowing like crazy. It was like, mid 30s all day, and the waves were building. So if you wanted to ride waves around here, the National Seashore on the Cape always has the biggest waves, bigger than Nahant, bigger than anywhere. But in the last few years, I'm rarely out there because you come so close to seals when you're out there, and it's shark land that, I really don't like to go out there with a foil, because I just know I haven't hit a seal with a foil. I just know how possible it is, and that just wigs me out. So Haley and I decided to meet my friend Rich and his buddy, and the plan was to rock a flat water spot and then do a big kind of upwind tack to this inlet that was like maybe 2.5 miles up north, and then enter the ocean there where it should be easier, and see what the winds are going to do with the waves. The predictions for this day were like 6 to 8 feet for the afternoon, close periods, but getting more spaced out. So we get to the spot, right? To be fair, we picked the spot because we were under the impression it was close to high tide. It ended up being just after low tide. So the trek to the inlet up north looked really easy on paper, but that would not be the case in this situation. So the plan was to launch and ride in this deeper pool that was close by until the water kind of filled in, and then we make this like 2.5 mile trek up north to go to this inlet. I set up the foil on land. You know, I put the mast basically in the middle of the mast track. My other sinker, I ride with it all the way forward, but you know, I just figured the middle was a good place to start with this one. And I'm using the 925 foil, 72 centimeter mast, 60 centimeter fuse, and my 232 stab, because I just like to have stability when I'm like kind of in situations that I need to be on. So I also picked up a new wing from Phil too. It's a 4.5 meter F1 Strike. So I basically showed up to this beach pimping with new F1 gear. So stoked. So we launched in some deeper water, easy enough. The sinker got right up, no issues. We go upwind to this little flat water pool that was deeper. I'm getting a feel for this nice concave deck, really digging the foot straps. The board feels sick. I love it. It was totally dialed in even just the way I had it set up. I didn't have to adjust anything. So it's so rad when that happened. I take it for some jumps. It's sick. It felt so good, especially with the foot strap set up. You know, the landings were smooth. Bouncing off the water was cool. I'm loving the volume. You know, you don't sink all the way down. You can kind of save yourself. I tried a bunch of upwind tacks, and that feels great. And the 4.5 meter strike is sick too. It's so good to have that. I've had a 3.5 and a 5.5 for so long. I sold my V1 4.2 like 2 months ago, and it's just getting old just having like that big of a gap. I mean, I can make it work, but like, it was blowing mid 30s, let's say, and the 4.5 wasn't too much, but man, it got me high with the jumps. So this is my new like high wind jumping wing. So stoked about that. So I jumped a bunch of times, right? But I really wanted, you know, we were really down there to do the waves. So Rich knew the spot and he thought it'd be possible soon. So we rally everybody and start kind of venturing north. 3 wingers and a kite foiler, you know? And we didn't really get that far though before we started grounding out. The kite foiler was able to make it, you know, with the most ease, I'd say. And the wingers, you know, we needed more clearance to get going, and I was on a sinker, so I needed the most clearance. And there was just a lot of schlogging in this, like, sometimes it was this slippery, smooth, peanut buttery, mucky mud stuff that you were stepping in, you know, and you were carrying a board. This board doesn't have a handle, so it was blowing pretty good. So I was wading in thigh deep water, holding onto a board with a high aspect foil, you know, and it just took a lot of effort. And I totally led the charge out of the wingers because I had, you know, this energy, and it was my idea to go upwind, and it only felt right to maybe just like, you know, push it and inspire the other two. And so eventually I got up on foil and I got upwind to where kind of Rich had been. There was like a walk-through path to the ocean, and Rich had gone to check out the waves. So I turned around and I look, and the other wingers didn't follow. They were having some issues with the shallow water, and they turned back. I think a gust came and put a hole in Chris's wing and cut his session short. So I kind of raced through the dunes and get to the ocean to catch up with Rich. Totally gnar on the outside. So we see this place that looked decent to get out, and so we went for it, but we were wrong. It was more shallow than we thought. It was impossible to get far enough out, quick enough, and up on foil and out. Like, the white water was just relentless, just coming in like kind of quick succession. I couldn't get out. I tried, failed, got washed down the shore, and then we walked back up the beach, and then I tried again. And I just got taken out, and the current was just wicked. And Rich tried over and over, and just got washed down the beach like a half mile. So after, you know, the 2 good tries, it was pointless to try to get out there. I was only gonna hurt myself and shred gear. So I decided to go back and walk through the dune. So when I get back to the water on the other side of the dunes, I'm like, well, I did get here. I just wasted some time, and there's probably enough water. I should go up to the inlet. So I decided to go to the inlet on my own. It took a while. There was a bunch of walking, slogging, grounding. There were channel markers I was using and trying to direct myself towards, and I can tell you right now they were not accurate. That was a total bummer finding that out. Rich's friend reached out to Rich later in the day about a concerned citizen that made a call to the emergency services. I mean, there was no way I was closer than like a mile from the person that must have made the call. From such a distance, wings probably looked like down kites, and as I walked across these sandbars towards like my goal, the wave like Narnia idea up at this like northern inlet, I probably just looked like a kiter that was in trouble. So that's unfortunate, and it was never my intention, but you gotta be thankful when someone's out there and just making calls like that out of the concern for other people. Walking took a lot out of me. You're walking into a current. The water was just deep enough to make it hard to walk, but just shallow enough so you couldn't walk your sinker with the foil down without grounding. So I had to like constantly lift the sinker, have it to the side, or carry it. It just took a while. And I remember getting to the inlet eventually and saw Rich on his way back up. He'd gone on the outside, walked across the dunes, and then tacked all the way back up to where I was. So cool, I wait for him. I've known Rich for a long time now, and we've had a couple NAR sessions, including like a crazy downwinder or two in this area on the National Seashore. And this is our first kind of NAR session that we're gonna have foiling together in waves, which is kind of like a different level. So, you know, we talked at the inlet for a few. Man, I was tired. It was a total trip getting to that point in the session, but it was a beautiful, challenging day up to that. It was great, you know, and we're gonna now try some waves. You know, they were right there, and this is the easy way out. That's why we're here. I eat waves for breakfast. I can do this. So I get out there relatively successfully, but I realize, you know, I'm tired at this point. I also realize it's NAR out there. I mean, big waves over my head, no rhyme or reason to them. They're randomly breaking. So to stay away from the crazy stuff, I had to be kind of far out. And we were also in Sharkland on Cape Cod. And then I'm like, wait, do sharks like the color red? And all of these things are going through my head when you like, boom, go down. So it was about this time after getting on a sinker when a wave would take me out, I kind of started to realize that my legs were cramping when I was like kneeling on the board. And that's not good. My wrists were like totally shot at this point too. Now I did something that was probably dumb. So I took electrolytes out with me, and the ones I took, they taste like peach Snapple, and they happen to have caffeine in them too. And I decided, you know, to take them out thinking it would give me a little pick-me-up whenever I needed it. And really, in my experience from like long distance running and stuff, caffeine kind of leads to cramping when you're dehydrated. And so you have to kind of weigh the options between the need for hydration and the boost from caffeine, the potential muscle cramping side effects. So I just drank it when we were at the inlet because I had it and it felt like it was a good idea at the time. So I'm out there. I remember the current sending Rich downwind fast when he tried to get out the first time, and that's in the back of my head. I was pretty far out, at least in onshore winds, but it was total chaos out there. I was tired, now I'm cramping, so I'm like, this is kind of dangerous. I'm heading home, you know, and heading home before something bad happens. So the options were a 2.5 mile shot directly downwind on the outside, or to try to get back to the inlet and navigate like the shallows in there. So I decided to beeline it for close to wherever we launched, but on the outside. Early on in this part of my session, my main camera died, so I only have footage from my board camera. I look at the footage now, and it doesn't even come close to transferring the intensity that it was when I was out there. But I'm not afraid to say it. It was wild, and I wanted to go home. I wanted to get home. And it was a challenge. You know, there was a lot of riding in white water, which isn't easy on a foil. I tried to avoid the waves. They were steep and big, and I just wanted to stay up and not fall in. Every time I fell in, I'd cramp more, so I'd ride in the troughs. I stayed on the shoulders, and at least not in front of the waves. I was more in like the back of the waves in the breaking white water. I didn't bluff out one-handed at all, and I just tried to like basically hold on with two hands and use that for balance the whole way. It didn't really take long, and it felt like it was kind of like one of those, I don't know, like an all-terrain race or something, but I made it back. I'm so stoked to get back to shore, and in one piece, and no gear was shredded while I was making this video. I gotta give Rich props. He actually had fun out there foiling with a 3.7 meter kite. I really wish that we were able to rock some party waves. You know, there will be better days, and we'll definitely do that. He was in his element, and he's an accomplished kite foiler now, so, you know, winging's just a different stratosphere when you're in those conditions. So all in all, the day didn't really go as planned, but it was an adventure. You know, a bunch of decisions kind of stacked up, as they do, and they made things more difficult. We got the tide wrong. I decided to use a sinker in a relatively low water situation. I used a 4.5 when it really could have been more comfortable riding something smaller. We decided to go so far upwind, and that alone is tiring, especially being so lit, but especially with so much wading and walking like in between sandbars. Drinking peach Snapple at the inlet was a bad call and had pretty quick negative negative side effects, and just going out into the ocean, it was my goal for the day, but I probably should have reconsidered it, you know, given like my energy levels and whatnot. So decisions. I'm thankful that everything worked out okay. It really could have been worse, but I'm totally stoked to have a new sinker and a new 4.5 meter in my life, and this is just gonna take me to some awesome happy places this summer, so that's pretty sweet. So I'm just stoked. Alright, so that's the end of the day. I hope you enjoyed the story of my first day on my sinker. Thanks so much for watching if you got to this far. More big wave sessions are coming, so if you want to see some more of my videos, please consider clicking that subscribe button. Give me a like if you like anything I'm throwing down. Drop a comment if you have any questions or you have anything to say. It's been so awesome getting to know you guys. And with that, I hope you're all doing well out there. I'll see you guys on the flip, and I wish you all an awesome day. Later!